I'm going to tell you about our speaker. We're extremely pleased this evening to have David Jacot, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Jacot.
Who is Director of Energy Efficiency for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. LADWP operates the largest power portfolio of energy efficiency programs in the nation. Under David's leadership,
That's public power.
Public power,
Sorry.
thank you. So the largest public power portfolio of energy efficiency programs in the nation. Under David's leadership, energy savings have increased about 40% per year.
Wow.
Investments in energy efficiency are hugely important as Los Angeles transitions away from coal to renewable power. What we want to happen over the next, until 2027, when we finally get off of coal, thanks to the Sierra Club's Beyond Coal campaign, we want to replace that energy with renewable energy rather than natural gas, right? So energy efficiency plays an extremely important role in that transition. So we're thrilled to have you here tonight, David. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I'm the Director of Efficiency Solutions for LADWP. Efficiency Solutions is the group that runs energy efficiency and implements water efficiency and ties them together. So we work to offer our customers, since our water customers and our power customers are one and the same, we work to offer them both energy and water efficiency at the same time. We also, part of Efficiency Solutions as well, I'll talk more about this as we get into the presentation, but just to get it out there, we work very closely with Southern California Gas Company. And the Southern California Gas Company is the investor-owned utility that serves 20 million Southern Californians, of which 4 million are Angelinos, and thus our customers. We have a very extensive partnership with them that I'll be talking about, where we have joined forces on 12 programs. And there's more coming, where we're merging in their gas efficiency measures and offerings with our electric and water efficiency measures and offerings. So we can really give customers a comprehensive resource improvement across all these different fuels and different resources. I spent time on that because the efficiency solutions concept is relatively new. It had been energy efficiency for a long time. The group was energy efficiency. Oh, and we do water on the side. Well, no, water's too important. It's efficiency solutions because we're creating solutions to promote efficiency for all our customers, for all resources that we serve. One other piece in the intro, David, you mentioned. You mentioned the goal, the goal for coal. I'm going to cover that in here too. But we're actually planning to get off of coal by 2025. So 2 years ahead of schedule. We're going to get out of half of what remains by the end of by 2017, and the balance by 2025. And that's just consisting of 2 coal plants. We're going to sell off one. We're going to convert the other one to natural gas. So we will be off of coal entirely.
Is that fracked natural gas?
That I don't know. That is TBD. But that's something the department's tracking very closely. That's definitely an issue. We're on our radar. Okay, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and get started.
Would you like to use this?
Sure. Let's see. Resize a little bit.
Let's,
Okay, great. So the agenda, I'm going to take us through a number of topics here. First, why? Why efficiency and renewables for Los Angeles? What are the drivers? What are the options? And I don't say energy efficiency, I say efficiency, because I really want to cover energy and water, since they're both so important. Drivers and options. What's the situation? What can we do about it? What are our choices? Energy, and this is key. We use energy efficiency and water efficiency to help us save energy and save water for the purposes of lessening the demand for those resources. But we also do these programs for more than just the savings. There's non-savings benefits we get from these programs. I'll be talking about that. Just give you an example of what I'm talking about, job creation. Skill job creation is a key ancillary benefit of efficiency programs. And there's others. Then I want to dive into how we reach our customers. We've got a diverse customer base, and that's not just racially, ethnographically, but also economically, and also in terms of business customers, industrial customers, commercial customers, schools, homeowners, renters, et cetera. So there's a tremendous diversity across our customer base. How do we get to them? How do we strategize taking the message to them in a way that resonates? Then I want to actually talk about some specific programs, spotlights. And these are programs, we also have materials in the back afterwards. But these are programs that are available today in Los Angeles that you could take advantage of, your small businesses could take advantage of, residential, small business, and then some larger programs for larger commercial customers, industrial customers as well. We have with us, and I apologize, I should have introduced her already, Cecile Coronel. You raise your hand, Cecile. She's with the department. She's one of the program managers on my team, and sometimes when I come to these, especially if I'm bringing collateral, I have one of my staff come along and support me on Q&A and program details and handing out collateral, brochures. And then finally, this one I think is going to be this is kind of a fun one. I'm excited, really excited by what we're going to finish on, what I'd like to finish on, which is the future. Next generation efficiency programs. And a little teaser there, it's going from a building focus to a community level focus, and what that entails and what that means for the scope of efficiency efforts in the future, and what we're thinking about now in terms of how we think our programs could look in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and the things we'll be focused on to drive efficiency at the community level. That'll be a fun one. I like that one. I like all of them. But there's still, you're the second audience seeing this one presented. I was at Little Tokyo's service center last week on the 3rd, presenting the first run of that. They're signed on to the Eco District, and we're supporting that. What you'll see is almost exactly that same presentation. Okay, so why? So now we will zoom into energy efficiency and renewables, because the drivers are a little different on the water side. So why are we doing energy efficiency and renewables? I'm preaching to the choir here, I know, but just to give you some drill down into the drivers that create challenges for LADWP in providing enough electricity for our customers. One is we're eliminating coal by 2025. That's environmental leadership. We're doing it a little bit early, and as a practical matter, AB 32 is practically mandated it anyway. Even if the state law that has it in there for 2027 hadn't, from an economic standpoint, AB 32 is going to make it too expensive to continue anyway, which was the point. So that's a driver. Another one, this is a big one, and this will tie in with our final topic as well, transportation electrification. That is electrifying goods movement, passenger vehicles, heavy-duty vehicles, moving the whole transportation logistics paradigm from hydrocarbon fueled to electricity fueled to electricity generated by renewable sources. Transportation electrification skips a step. See, you're hearing, and I don't know what the Sierra Club's official policy is, and I don't know what DWP's official policy is, but my personal official policy is that I don't think we should go the route of compressed natural gas vehicles. Natural gas is going to play a role as a bridge fuel while we ramp up the renewables, absolutely. But we don't want to lock in, I don't want to lock in another 100-year fossil fuel infrastructure. Replace the petroleum legacy infrastructure with the natural gas one, boom, we're locked into the next 100 years. No, go straight to electrification. And then you decouple the rate of conversion of the vehicle fleet from the rate of conversion of the power system to renewables. And the card that's being charged doesn't care whether the juice came from a coal plant or natural gas plant or renewable. So as you get that infrastructure in place, you can off-cycle and retire the dirty power and plug in the new power, and the vehicle infrastructure keeps going. So huge. We at the department strongly support transportation electrification. There's an impact. That's why this is a driver for why we're investing heavily in efficiency and renewables, and that's that converting all light-duty vehicles, in other words, the cars you drove here tonight, to plug-in electric vehicles is going to double our load. It's a massive increase in the amount of electricity we have to supply. It's huge. But to decarbonize the economy, you have to convert the fuel of choice that's operating these vehicles from a hydrocarbon-based to electric, ultimately with the electric being renewably powered. But that's going to be a huge impact. Other drivers, other things that are driving why we need to invest in energy efficiency. Population growth, the state's getting bigger, the city's getting bigger. The growth continues. There's a ton. It's a record year at the Department of Building and Safety on permits being pulled for buildings, for construction projects. The economy is recovering. It's not recovered, but it is recovering. And there's a big upsurge in activity. Well, that means more density, more people, more load. Climate change, wild card, but certainly, I think I'm safe in saying that we all believe in climate change. I think we all believe in man-made climate change, but regardless, if you're just looking from an impact standpoint, and you don't believe in man-made climate change, as a utility planner, you would still be looking at climate change because you believe that's happening. We believe both, obviously. And finally, rising affluence. This is an interesting one. We're seeing plug loads. That's, this thing plugged into the wall, that uses juice. And that lamp there's probably 300 watts or more that's powering the projector. Those are growing as well. those
I'm trying to reduce the load.
Yeah, excellent. The trend towards, every room in a house has a flat screen TV, and they're bigger and bigger and bigger. Yes, now we have Energy Star, great, but still, you go back 20 years, you had one 27-inch tube in your living room that's 250, 300 watts. And then they were having these 700 watt plasmas. They kind of beat that back down into more of a 200 watt LED range, but you got 7 of them in the house. So, the load has gone tremendously up. So, and the rising affluence, that's across all socioeconomic sectors. And it's not a bad thing that there is rising affluence. You want to see the lower socioeconomic levels, grow, narrow the gap, not grow the gap, which is, of course, the way it's headed. But net effect from a power planning standpoint is more low. Okay, so what are the options? How do we address those drivers? Well, new power sources. Coal's out of the picture as a new source. That's state mandate, can't introduce any new, which is good. Natural gas, we know that that is especially with the fracking boom is going to be a big part of the near and midterm picture. Just because the renewables aren't ramped up enough yet, but we got to keep aggressively driving the renewables. So we make natural gas truly the bridge fuel, sunset it, sooner rather than later as we go to more and more and more renewables. But bottom line, the new power sources we want, loading order, energy efficiency, number one, don't create the need for it in the first place. Renewables, number two, and then natural gas. So how much more energy efficiency and renewables do we need by 2030 or by the AB 32 deadline of 2050? This is not going to give you the answer, but it kind of graphically depicts what I've been talking about, and just kind of puts it in perspective and gives you a frame of reference for the magnitude of change that is coming to the power system in the US, in California, and in LA, in LADWP. So 2010, 2020, this is the power mix, the power supply mix, where the power came from. That's the 2010 picture, what it was, what we projected to be in 2020. I got to jump in and explain real quick. You see energy efficiency is 0 on here. That's not meant to be a reflection on our efforts in 2010. We did energy efficiency in 2010. We helped customers save energy. We weren't counting it as part of our power mix though. So it was credited with 0. It didn't count towards power. We have since incorporated it into what we call the integrated resource plan. That's the master, all-encompassing document that we do every year that explains how we're going to meet the power supply needs, projects what the needs are, and how we're going to meet them, and what the infrastructure investments will be to be ready for it out to 2033, somewhere in the 2030s, 2035, 2033, somewhere out there. So the long-term planning. So we have that as part. Energy efficiency is now considered by the department to be a supply-side resource. And we're one of the only utilities that is boldly staking out that ground and presenting it like this. I used to, so full disclosure, I've only been at DWP for 2.5 years. I used to work for Southern California Edison, and I ran energy efficiency programs there. And I run a good portfolio, and we did some really good stuff. But their power system folks did not look at it this way. Their power system procurement process didn't give any credit for energy efficiency. It just considered it noise in the system. That's how they looked at it. You would never see an Edison document where a 2020 projection of the power supply included this slice right here. And it's 15% because we just adopted 15% energy efficiency targets by 2020 at our board on August 5th with the support of the Sierra Club, NRDC, Environmental Defense Fund, a bunch of workforce and labor, workforce development and labor allies, and business allies as well. The LA Business Council, LA Chamber were supportive of what we're doing as well. And thanks to the Sierra Club, Evan Gillespie was fantastic throughout the whole process of pulling together those targets and then communicating what we were trying to do to our stakeholders, and then going to the board, and then having our stakeholders come into the board meeting with us and voice support was phenomenal. In fact, we had an outpouring of support, and uniformly very positive, and so it was obviously adopted. But what you see here is we're trying to get rid of coal. It was 39% in 2010. Now it's 33% now. It's going to be about 24% in 2020. That's because we're retiring a power plant in 2017, and we convert the other one to natural gas by 2025. So that's that piece. So that goes away. So you're just kind of picturing out a ways. That goes away. You've got those other drivers like electrification, climate change, population growth, rising affluence. That's growing the pie. How do you make up the gaps? How do you meet it? Well, we're not going to build more of that, right? Not much opportunity to build more of that, the hydro. Yeah, so it's going to be, this is your war right here. And the question is how much of this versus how much of this versus how much of this. Well, as much of this as possible, as much of this as possible, and this is going to make up the difference. But by setting aggressive energy efficiency targets now, and then pushing to be successful meeting them, we can lay out the case that we don't need as much of this. Come 2020, our power system folks, when they redo that IRP every year, can look at this and say, okay, I thought I needed it to be, this much. Well, maybe it's this much, and eventually it's, as we do this for, a sustained generational approach, we can get it down to nothing but auxiliary or stabilization.
It's impressive that it's less in 2020 than in 2010.
That's because of this and this. Yeah. Okay, so switch gears. Water. Why water conservation efficiency? Why do we care on this one? Well, obviously, we're in a severe statewide drought. That's hopefully the messaging permeating the public consciousness. It has been, actually. It's definitely out there. Why is that? Sierra snowpack. There's already evidence of climate change. The snowpack is way off. It's drier. The other issue that will cause problems is as it warms and more, and the snow line rises into higher elevations, more the lower it falls as rain, washes away right away. It doesn't store like the snowpack does. Snowpacks are above ground major water supply for the entire state. It's 30% of normal in 2014. The State Water Project, one of four large aqueduct systems in California, which I'll show you in the next slide, almost cut off deliveries to nothing, but then found 5% to spit down our way. So the drivers here, the map. I always love this one. It looks like a New York City subway map, but actually it's all the aqueducts and canals in California, and a number of the dams as well. And the crux of it is 2/3 of the population lives down here, where there's virtually very little natural water. 2/3 of the water is up here. Even San Francisco gets its through an aqueduct that comes from the dammed Hetch Hetchy Valley. So that's they've got imported water issues as well. Major systems, the State Water Project's the gold one, the Central Valley Project, the CDP is the purple one. Our own aqueduct, the Los Angeles Aqueduct, is the green one there, and then that's the All-American Canal down here, and the Colorado River Aqueduct over there. So most of what we use here doesn't come from here. Most of it's imported. The Colorado River Aqueduct taps the Colorado River. Water rights, they give and they take. Agriculture has a lot of the water rights locked up here and here. That makes us compete at a disadvantage for urban water. Flip side, California, because it was so urbanized by 1922, when the Colorado River Pact was signed between the 7 states that through which the river cuts, got the bulk of the money, got the bulk of the water, and it got the first in line allocation. So I don't remember the numbers exactly, but if the river can't meet all of the allocations up and down, we get ours before anybody else gets theirs. California, being at the end of it, gets everything.
Do you happen to know the percentage of our water that comes from the Colorado River, approximately?
Not offhand, but let me take a stab a little higher level on that. We have, so as a water agency, we have our own sources, and then we buy water. We're a water agency with our own sources, but we're also one of the 26 members of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. Met gets the water from the Colorado River, the State Water Project, and the Colorado River Aqueduct. Met's the wholesale buyer, purchaser of those. We go to Met when we can't meet our own water needs with our own supply, which is every year, and we buy water from them. But I don't know the mix of the water they provide to us, how much is Colorado River and how much is State Water Project. Although if the State Water Project has reduced deliveries to 5% this year, then most of it would be Colorado River Aqueduct. And I believe we're purchasing 80% of our water this year from Metropolitan. Mm-hmm. Very high. We tried for 50. We've done 50 a couple of years ago, but we're having to purchase 80% from that. And it's expensive water. So all these imported sources are under pressure. Kind of the same ones: population growth, climate change. Little different one from the energy side: water quality criteria. Declining water quality, combined with increasing federal standards for drinking water, is having a number of impacts. It's making some sources less economical to use. It makes the cost of treating it higher and more energy intensive, so the cost just continues to drive up. So those are drivers. Those are drivers for why water efficiency and conservation. Shown a little bit more clearly, those just focused on LA, You can see the convoluted state water project, our aqueduct, Colorado River Aqueduct. But then let's look at what our local sources are, 'cause I haven't talked about that. Local groundwater and stormwater, and conservation and recycling. So kind of like with the energy efficiency piece, we've got efficiency and we got renewables. Well, in that context, this is your efficiency, conservation, and this is your locally renewable, the local groundwater and stormwater. Capturing the stormwater that falls through a variety of landscape means, berms, permeable paving, things like that, and then groundwater. And a big part of that is cleaning up we have a tremendous aquifer in the San Fernando Valley. Unfortunately, 2/3 of it's polluted by rocket fuel. Now, the beauty of it is, we do have a plan to clean it up. It is technically feasible, it's expensive, it's a long-term plan, but we're building that infrastructure in place now to clean it up. But it'll take a decade or 2 decades to clean that up. It's just amazing, the things industries did. It makes a case for regulation, strong, aggressive government regulation, proactive regulation. The things industries did in the 30s and 40s, you can't even imagine. I mean, the whole aquifer is tainted because they used to just dump rocket fuel on the ground, by the tank load, and because it'll evaporate. And nobody was telling them not to, so there you go. And the San Gabriel Valley's got the same mess.
How much of our water in the city of Los Angeles now is from local groundwater?
Not much. I don't know the exact number, but our annual use is, we've kept it up to 2 million acre feet. It's about 1.9 million acre feet. An acre foot, by the way, it's about 320,000 gallons, but 360,000 gallons. But what it is land an acre a foot deep. It's just a standard measure with a lot of water. And the average household uses, on average, 1 acre foot a year. So that's another point of reference. We might be getting 100,000 out of that 1.9 million, so maybe 5%, somewhere in that ballpark. We're only getting about 10 or 15% from the LA Aqueduct. And that's somewhat artificially constrained. Yes, we had a low snowpack, so it reduces the flows dramatically. On top of that, we're in I don't know what the term of it is, but we're in a disagreement with Owens Lake up there, and there's a bunch of dust control mitigation measures that at the moment have us pouring half of the water that would otherwise send down to LA on the dry bed for dust control. Okay. Next slide. So, back to energy. I'm going to bounce a little bit here because I wanted to present these kind of side by side. And so we've got the impetus for efficiency. It's definitely a smart business decision, regardless of your environmental leanings or your, what you think of climate change. It's a smart business decision. We are making a sustained effort to achieve that 15%. This is not something where we're going to run a program for 2 years, hire a bunch of temps, crank it out, and then, we're done. No, this is a long-running effort. This is just 2020, but we have, because our planning cycle for energy efficiency, unlike the power system where it's, their capital investments are such that they have to plan 25 years out. Ours, a little bit less, still a 10-year planning horizon is a good horizon. We have a detailed plan for this. But what you can see here is we're on a fiscal year. We have an annual budget for energy efficiency, and we get savings. And so the first 3 years of this, here's what we spent and here's what we achieved. This is in gigawatt hours, that's 1 million kilowatt hours measure of energy. And we had kind of a low year. I started in 2011 to 2012, right at the end of 2012, and we had some programs that had some real challenges and were closed to participation. Got everything opened up again. So what do? We grew it from 126 gigawatt hours to 200, and then again to 252. We went from investing $37 million to 50 to 78. So in the course of 2 years now, we have doubled the business. We have doubled the business of energy efficiency at the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power.
How?
That's a great question. That's a great question. That's a long question. Well, by having the commitment of the organization to spend it, by giving my organization the latitude to be creative and be aggressive, get out of the office, meet customers, develop offerings, programs, launch them, get in front of our customers, learn what their needs were, and make sure we're responsive. And we've gotten the participation back. That's one way. Others engaging with industries and what we call trade allies. And I'll talk more about that in some of the program design area section. But it's not enough to just increase the budget and then think people are going to magically come get it. An analogy I like to use is, okay, you're trying to get to the goal at the end of the rainbow. Just because you make the pot of gold bigger doesn't make it any easier to cross the rainbow. So we recognize that. So this has us getting to the 15% cumulative savings target by 2020 has us needing to make these numbers. So we need to double the business again. We've done it. We've done it in 2 years. We've got another 2 years to do it again, to get up into this range. And I'm confident we can do it, but it's going to be hard work. It's been hard work to get to where we're at now. It's going to be more hard work to do it again. But we've done it once. I think we can do it again.
A quick question, based on these numbers, for every dollar invested in energy efficiency, what's the return on investment in terms of energy savings?
Right, great question. So these programs, and one of the things I really like about energy efficiency is that it's not like what you normally see as a policy intervention, a funded policy intervention that comes out of the government, which is usually a fixed amount of money to do something. When the money runs out, okay, do we do what we thought we were going to do? Energy efficiency is actually a business, because what we do is we balance every dollar we want to spend against what the return on that investment is, because there's avoided costs, avoided fuel costs, avoided infrastructure costs, and there's adders for climate benefits, reduced carbon, things like that. And so we have very sophisticated cost effectiveness tests. It's an economic test where we lump in everything we're going to do, how long the measures are going to last, in other words, give us benefits, net present value, those future benefit streams back to today, and compare that to the investment today. And that's called the benefit cost test. We do that test, and we maintain a benefit cost ratio greater than 1. But that's on a portfolio basis. We have some programs where it doesn't get better than 1. I'll explain why we have those programs. But on an overall basis, we have the benefit cost ratio is better than 1. You want it to be there. If you're running it less than 1, you're essentially running programs like a backdoor tax, which you don't want to do. But if you're too successful, if your benefit cost ratio is 5, then you're cream skimming. You're only getting the low-hanging fruit. You could be taking that excess return on investment, reinvesting it in lower effectiveness, lower cost-effective measures, so you can do a more comprehensive energy efficiency and get more done, including investing in measures that are below the line altogether. Some programs might have a 0.3 benefit ratio, and that's fine. You're serving an underserved constituency. A low-income program can have that. Just don't blow the bank on it. Bound how much you can invest in that public good, and still have it covered by the higher rate of return on the more cost-effective measures and programs. But this shows the sustain. We've adopted these targets officially, so these are targets, these are the goals. We've previewed that these are the budgets we think we need. These are not in rates at this point, but I don't have it down here. They're not entirely not in rates either. We have, as of the 2012 rate increase, $138 million a year budgeted for energy efficiency. So we won't need any significantly extra money beyond what's already figured in for another 2 years, when we think we might need that. And we'll have better, we'll have a tighter projection as to whether we actually do need that much by then. But we're not talking a huge increase over what we're already funded at. One of the neat things in this whole process was that we were able to develop a program plan that achieves 50% more savings than the program plan we had 2 years ago at no additional cost. So these numbers are in line with what we thought we were going to need to get to 10% by 2020. We found a way to where we believe we can meet these higher goals with the relatively the same numbers. So that's a good story, good success story. How it looks on a cumulative basis, the actuals, so year over year just adds. You see we get pretty steep here. We got to be making 2% a year. 2% a year, 2% of our retail load in efficiency per year, which is very aggressive, not impossible, but it definitely has us in the ranks of aggressive utilities. You see that ramp up as we get out to the 15% by 2020. Water side, similar story. What we're doing there, fiscal years again, the 10-year picture. Budget's a little lower. Water's, it's the efforts are very important. It's just the nature of the cost of the program is a little different, and the opportunity, the potential of what we're doing. Subject to change. The worse the drought gets, the more impetus there might be to double the budget to really do some quick hit stuff this year. So these are projections, but it gives you a rough idea. It gives you a rough idea of the magnitude, but also, to me, demonstrates our long-term commitment to efficiency. It's not the flavor of the month. I think in the past, DWP has been beaten up on that a bit. I think there were times when it kind of was the flavor of the month, and then other things took priority. There wasn't a combined vision within both the city and the utility of the importance. But I think those days are done. I think it's been pretty carved in stone. The drought situation, the energy situation, the job situation. I'm going to talk about that one next, and how these programs are key to helping us with all three of those. Okay, so making the goals isn't enough. We also use these programs for customer equity, skilled job creation, transparency, and community capacity building. Transparency just means us being out here talking to our customers and our stakeholders. We codified these with a set of guiding principles we adopted at the board 2 years ago, with the support of the coalition that came to the board to support energy efficiency. So let me talk a little bit about, I'll zoom in on job creation for a bit. A common measure of the efficacy of policy interventions in creating jobs is how many jobs they create per $1 million invested. Very common measure in workforce economics. We worked with UCLA to do a study on that and found that they looked at all our programs and the estimated job creation efforts, impacts of each one, and came out to 16 jobs per $1 million we invest in energy efficiency. Now 16, okay, that's great. What's that relative? How does that compare? Natural gas development, about 5.2 million jobs, 5.2 jobs per million. Residential new construction, home building, the classic bellwether industry, 10.7. Smart grid deployment, good stuff, 12.5. Solar generation, renewable solar rooftop generation, 13.7. Good jobs creators, but the reality is these are a lot more capital intensive. So for every $1 million you invest, less of it is for the labor and more of it is for the parts. And the parts are almost certainly not built here. So the jobs that are created by those parts are in China, or they're somewhere else. If it's all labor, if it's mostly labor, it's mostly here for jobs. And then,
oh, excuse me, that was an expectation, not an actual, right?
this is right. This is the projection. We'll go back and true it up as we do studies. We did verify job creation from the programs we've run already. But we ran this study as looking at that job creation extrapolated to the larger portfolio that we run today. So it is a projection, that is correct.
I have a question about those jobs. When they say that natural gas is 5.2 jobs per 1 million invested, is that because they pay those 5.2 people more money?
There's an element. That's a very good point. In this case, it's generally because the industry is so capital intensive. But what you don't see on here, and I told you putting it on here, garment manufacturing. Garment manufacturing gives 35 jobs per $1 million invested. Yeah, they're all sweatshop jobs. So you're absolutely right. You got to think about the quality of the jobs that are being created. So that's a very, very good question. In general, those natural gas jobs, well, the fracking jobs are paying a fortune just because people are going to migrate to South Dakota to do them, and it's a skill set and whatnot. But generally, these are fairly skilled, high-skilled jobs, relatively same range. Okay. I'll move a little. I'm starting to run short on time, so I'm going to move through this fairly quickly. But we did something on water similar back in 2011, and that showed 17 jobs per $1 million invested. Efficiency, whether it's water or energy, is a job creator. It's an efficient job creator because it has the direct employment of the people who are doing the work, the contractors that go out and get hired by customers to install energy and water efficiency, the economic activity that's created by their spending, and then the customers saving energy, saving water, have bill savings that they reinvest. And all that has growing multiplicative impacts on economic activity and thus job creation. Okay, so designing these programs to reach our diverse customers. The main thing is putting ourselves in our customers' shoes, working with our customers to learn what their situations are. Customers have market barriers. Customers have barriers to why they aren't naturally adopting efficiency. There's a number of barriers. So what we do is identify the barriers for any particular customer segment, because different customer segments look completely different. The school district looks different from a hospital, which looks different from an apartment building, which looks different from single-family homes. And so we find out what the barriers are, and then we can develop programs that integrate approaches to overcome all of those barriers. But in general, the way we segment those customers, residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, low, moderate, upper income, fixed income. We look at it from the standpoint of a mass market and a medium-large commercial sector. Mass market being the bulk of our customers, so about 150,000 of our 180. Let me think. I get that backwards. It's 1.2 million residential accounts and about 200,000 commercial accounts. Is how our customers are divvied up. And then within the mass market, within residential, there's a lot of different single-family, multifamily, apartments, condos, low income, senior housing. And then within commercial, institutional, hospitals, manufacturing, schools, government offices, neighborhood strip centers, retail, etc. But the barriers that each of these different customer segments faces fall into three general categories: awareness, knowledge, and funding. And awareness is a customer just simply doesn't know that they could be more efficient. They don't understand, they don't know that they've got efficiency opportunity.
Like, look around here, you guys have, this place has, looks like T5s, that's good.
But the customer might not know that their lighting can be more efficient, their air conditioning can be more efficient. Knowledge, technical knowledge. Okay, a customer is aware, then what do they do? And this is where things always fall apart. If a customer becomes aware, I read a book, I've got opportunity, now what do I do? And there isn't the technical assistance to get them over the hump. And then finally funding, and that's where the traditional incentive programs come in. We offer an incentive. But you can't just offer the incentive and not think about how to raise awareness and how to give them the knowledge they need to actually do the project. Because then you've got the pot of gold, and you're making the pot of gold bigger, and you can't figure out why people aren't coming across the rainbow for it. So strategies that overcome those: marketing, education, outreach, advertising for the awareness piece, providing technical assistance recommendations, and then for the knowledge piece, getting into the nitty-gritty of developing a project. What's my scope of the project? What's my project? And then incentives to help with the funding. Or in the case of customers who are too poor to put up anything, which is a lot of customers, and not just residential, but small business as well, the direct installation approach, where we just give it to them for free. We come in and install it for free. And then we can take all these strategies and combine them into single programs that address all those barriers at one time. So the customer isn't left, okay, you did this for me, but I don't have a clue how to proceed. It's a pathway. It's a pathway to complete, to identify, scope, develop, and complete a project. So a project that goes by the direct install model is for small businesses. We do small business direct install programs for smaller customers, estimate about 150,000 of these folks in the city. What we've done is bundle together lighting, which saves electricity, faucet aerators and shower heads for water and gas, for the natural gas heating, high efficiency toilets, tank repair, saves water, pipe wrap insulation, saves gas, thermostatic fan controllers, we do that sometimes, electric gas savings. And this isn't a complete list, but it's meant to show that we do a lot of stuff that saves our small businesses electric, gas, and water, but also saves them on their sewer bill. It has 4 positive bill impacts for the customer because the sewer is just pegged to the water usage. Another example of a program that we have, Energy Upgrade California. Now this is an incentive program. It's not a direct install program, but it's also comprehensive. And it's one of our programs in partnership with SoCal Gas, where it's essentially comprehensive weatherization for residential customers. Again, going through insulation, window and wall unit replacement if they have an inefficient window air conditioner, wall air conditioner, water saving measures, toilets, pipe insulation. Saves on multiple bills. We do it for single and multifamily in partnership with SoCal Gas. So let me speed it up here a little bit, but take you through our SoCal Gas partnership. When I got to DWP, this was already in the works, so I can't take credit for it. But before I got to DWP, I wanted to make sure that we were doing a partnership with the gas company, because when I was at Edison, we did partnership with the gas company. And you could jointly offer gas and electric incentives and give the customer more than you could, than either utility could on their own. So it just made a ton of sense. Number two, one utility is the lead and the other one funds in the background. So there's economies of scale in delivering the programs. I could tap into program staff and delivery channels the gas company already had in place, rather than have to build my own from scratch. And so we did that. We did an MOU with the gas company and got that up and running in August. A lot of support for that in August of 2012. A real quick rundown of all the programs that we do there: residential new construction, commercial new construction, Energy Upgrade California, I just mentioned, the retro commissioning program, a water and gas only program that does direct install of aerators and shower heads in multifamily. The LA Better Buildings Challenge, which we signed on to through the DOE, the US DOE and the US EPA. Small business direct install, LAU, SD, LA Unified, we do direct install for them. Some external efforts on codes and standards development and emerging technologies, R&D, and then some of the things we're looking at coming soon. Some ability to do remote audits through billing data analysis. Low-income multifamily, really excited about that one. That'll be joint with the gas company's existing system. Food service equipment, biggie there, and some others looking. And what we're really excited about with this partnership is this was one of the first places where DWP got back out into a leadership role in energy efficiency. For a long time, we were invisible throughout most of the 2000s. Very visible in the late 90s, very good, and kind of fell apart. Well, we're back, and demonstrating that is that other municipal utilities are following our lead, and they've signed up with the gas company, and they're doing some of these same programs. Anaheim and Riverside, specifically, when they took their agreements with the gas company to their city council, the first thing they led with was, we want to do this because they're already doing it with it, because LA's already doing it, and they're successful with it. So we got to stake out a leadership role that we're really excited about. Okay, so I know I'm running short here, but this was the last thing, this kind of the future vision of efficiency, where efficiency is going. Expanding efficiency, energy and water, beyond buildings to whole communities. Now, expanding beyond doesn't mean we stop looking at buildings. Building level efficiency will always be foundational to our efforts, but there's a huge opportunity in looking at it from a community level, eco-district level. Traditional efficiency measures are only focused on the individual buildings, and it's all the systems, the air conditioner, the lighting, the appliances, what's plugged into the walls. the water using devices, toilets, shower heads, the landscaping, the sprinklers. But interconnections between buildings, in other words, the physical makeup of a neighborhood, also influences energy and water use. Land use patterns, transportation patterns, land use transportation nexus. If you heard in the urban planning realm, that gets a lot of note. And it didn't back in the 50s. They didn't think in terms of there was a nexus between land use and transportation. But the reality is the land use patterns you plan or you choose are going to drive your transportation patterns. The transportation system you put in place is going to enable or disable whatever the land use patterns are. The two are very much tied together. Community scale efficiency includes building measures, but we also start addressing, looking at some of these unique and out-of-the-box for efficiency opportunities that come from that land use transportation nexus. And so we have coined, rather ungainly term here, the efficiency land use transportation nexus. I'm open to suggestions on a better name. That's the work. Drivers. What is driving us to look at this now? What are the trends impacting development patterns in LA, in California, and the LA region? There's policy drivers. California has nation-leading, world-leading efforts underway on climate change, AB 32, SB 375. SB 375 is a sustainable communities requirement that all the metropolitan planning organizations in the state, like SCAG, Southern California Council of Southern California Association of Governments, come up with plans combined, leveraging the land use transportation nexus to reduce greenhouse gas emissions through reduced vehicle miles traveled, VMT. There's demographic changes, just driving kind of the decline of the nuclear family. And there's more intergenerational families, more elderly singles and couples with no kids at home, and singles and couples with no kids at the young end as well. And that's driving development trends to evolve. We still have a building industry that's wedded to large lots, suburban, ex-urban, single-family development. I'm going to have fun the first time I present this at BIA. But there are folks in the development industry that aren't of the production home builder mindset that see this, and they're getting their products out there. And all the cranes all over LA are those folks now. So what comes out of those drivers, these trends? More and more demand for, need for compact, mixed-use infill development patterns, as opposed to the single-use, single-zone, low-density, ex-urban, auto-dependent pattern. A lot of this is going to occur in or near the coastal basin, traditional job centers, areas with more developed non-auto mobility options. We had to drive around the construction of the expo line to get here, had us a few minutes late, but very excited to see that coming out this way. And transportation electrification, I talked about it first. A significant portion of transportation is going to be electrified. That's a trend. So what do those trends mean? What are our options? Well, what we have is we see that those compact multifamily patterns that answer those drivers and those trends and those policy imperatives also happen to use less energy and water. That's where the resource efficiency nexus comes in. Common walls, central plants, you can have a centralized air conditioner as opposed to everybody has their own. District heating and cooling, you can have one plant for the whole community and pipe it into the streets to the various buildings. Smaller units on average, less landscape per unit. There might be one big courtyard for everybody instead of everybody has a lawn that they use 5% of the time. The reason for having a lot of this development be absorbed as coastal basin infill, it is getting hotter. It's getting hotter everywhere, but it's getting a lot hotter in the Inland Empire and the high desert. It's temperate here. It'll be temperate here. It'll get warmer, but it won't be like building these 4,000, 5,000 square foot houses on single family lots out in Hesperia, selling them for $225,000, and then people can't figure out why they're getting a $900 electric bill. So, and then the compact mixed infill also reduces vehicle miles traveled by supporting high-quality mobility options where you can walk a lot more places, you can cycle, transit, you can take, where you have access to high-quality transit, you can take that. And so this is important to us, you know, just as important to, I mean, it's important to us, but from a utility energy efficiency standpoint and water efficiency standpoint, these development patterns are going to impact those drivers, those that I started with in laying out the case for why we care about efficiency in the first place.
For those of us who are taking advantage or trying to, I have 2 houses that I've put solar through Sungevity on.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was 3 years ago, 2010, sorry, 4 years ago. And it took 2 months to get hooked up to the grid. This time I did it, and it was completed 4 weeks ago. And I've heard nothing, and Sungevity has told me they've heard nothing. They keep trying to get it hooked up. And there was a big LA Times article about the delays and why we're having these delays getting hooked up to the grid.
Right.
That's my first issue.
Okay.
Also, I took advantage of the $2 a foot, when it was only $2 a foot to take out grass.
Right.
I haven't had grass now for 10 years.
Okay.
I have native plants, not
Right.
low water, not just low water, but low water natives to this region of California.
Okay.
Not cactus and not just what belongs here, and not palm trees. And I am still waiting for we completely redid my father-in-law's, still waiting for that reimbursement, and that's been over a month.
Okay.
I think we're ready for questions as well.
Well, so-
We're all
So I'm
anxious to
just
ask
wondering what's happening
Yeah,
on that.
okay, so both specifically and then in general, would love to take down your information, have my folks research on the status of those. But we're going through growing pains. You know, as we're ramping these programs up, we're totally committed to efficiency and renewables, as you see here. It makes all the sense. Even the most hard-nosed, business-minded, business-oriented, you know, economist, businessman type, business person type, these make sense. They make sense to us. Now, as we ramp up what we're doing here with these programs, there's some growing pains in terms of what it takes to actually process the projects and the rebates. And we're working to address that internally and smooth these out. But you're right, yeah, we're not meeting expectations on what it takes to, how long it takes to turn a system on, how long it takes to pay the rebate out afterwards. We've made a number of changes to the process recently that will start to pay some dividends. Are you on a leased system?
Yes.
Okay. We just made a big change to that we think is going to streamline that dramatically. But we just put it through. It became effective, I think, August 25th, so probably too late for your project. But going forward, we'll start getting those together. But I'd be happy to take down your information, and we'll run down the status of your rebate and your turn on.
Oh.
We've been through 3 of the processes, the single-family residential, and not to take up time here, but I would be happy to talk about our troubles of getting over the rainbow for each of them.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the middle of the turf removal process, and I have several really clear issues with getting our electric vehicle charging station in place, getting our solar in place, and now the turf removal process. But I think that's really key. The websites and the face of DWP to the public is extremely opaque.
Mm-hmm.
And I came tonight because I thought, well, you know, I just want to do my little good citizen thing. And if there's a way that I can give somebody my business card to give this input,
Sure.
because there's no mechanism
Yeah,
on
you can give
there.
it to me.
And for the turf removal, it's, you know, you're dealing with a clearinghouse function because they're have DWP as their client, but they all have a number of other water districts that they're
Right, yeah.
working with. So they're
That's
basically a middle person.
Yeah.
But at any rate, not just within the saved community, which is the folks here, the Sierra Club, we're the saved. But among the,
Yeah.
interested, wanna be saved, it's just too opaque. And for people like us who want to help them, I need some tools to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I can be very specific about what those tools are, because as we finish these projects, we have a lot of interest. People that
Right.
come to our house, people that we work with, and yet it's very hard to get off the dime.
Mhm.
So I just think a lot more energy needs to be put into contact the people who've already used the 3 things that I've mentioned, and I'm sure they will give you lots of feedback about how to make it less opaque,
Yeah.
and then act on those suggestions.
Mhm.
But your best ambassadors are the people who successfully made it through these programs.
Right. Yeah, well, and
So that's my 2 cents on that.
no, I appreciate that. You know, our most credible ambassadors will be the ones who made it through the program. Our best ambassadors will be the ones who made it through painlessly.
Yes,
Which
yes.
is-
So far that has
Which is
to-
probably a relatively small
Sorry,
subset of the
that's-
larger population. Yeah, I'd love to take down the information and follow up on that. So when I talked about barriers to the adoption of efficiency, I did leave off utility processes. Definitely aware that's an issue, and yeah, we're on the front page of the LA Times for the issues with the solar system. The issues have been a little bit less with getting the rebates paid. It's really big, which is still very important, but the big issue is getting the systems turned on. It's extremely frustrating to have a completed system sitting for 5 months on a roof and not
It was
producing.
8 months for us. But, plenty of lessons learned.
Mhm.
How do you hear these lessons, from the customers? And then how do you actually, change it?
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
Yeah. Well, a couple things. We try and come out in the community and get this feedback.
Here we are.
And I welcome that. And then we also have a public participation process at our board, where people are welcome to come and speak, to put things on, that's not the only channel. I'm just saying that, and it's a time investment, obviously, on a committed participant to come to a 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. Tuesday board meeting and speak. But that's a channel that's there to get it to the top right away. That'll get it to the general manager who's there, get it to the commissioners who's there, get it to the representatives of the mayor's office who are there as well. So there's multiple channels. And I'm not saying take it to the board. You're welcome to. Maybe that's something at the grassroots level. Sometimes an organization will, like say Sierra Club, to say, okay, good, we got an issue here. Want to get some visibility to it. Then on behalf of a number of you who might have had that issue, can raise it in that forum.
There's little sort of grumblings that maybe in the rest of the this century could be a huge mega drought, a 100-year drought, where what's happening in this past year could be going on for year after year after year.
Mm-hmm.
At what point would something like desalinization be a practical sort of thing, which is probably uses a lot of energy, but at some point in time, we're simply going to run out of water.
Yeah. Desalinization is technically, it's proven technology. So it's all about the economics. And so it becomes a matter of political economics as well. But we'll focus on the economics. It is expensive. It's energy intensive. At the moment, it's still more expensive than us just purchasing metropolitan water. But if there's no metropolitan water to purchase, then it starts looking like your only solution.
Well, if you're using solar energy,
I'll
that
just-
make it cheap.
I'll just mention that in, I guess it was May,
Mhm.
Stephen Murray was here and explained how LA could get off imported water
Mhm.
by recycling water, conserving water, and then fixing the pipes.
Mhm.
And he actually did the math and went through it so that We probably could invest the money there and avoid desalination.
Well, we're doing a ton of that. We're ramping up after the UCLA flood. We're trying to ramp up. We're putting on the radar of council that we need a rate increase to ramp up the rate of replacement of the pipeline system. That's huge.
What I've always wondered is, we live in LA, right? Beverly Hills, we all got grass and all this. It's a desert. Why don't we have stuff like rocks, like Arizona?
Yeah.
Why don't they change it?
Well, that's why
Right.
that's why we've raised our turf removal incentive to $3 a square foot.
Still isn't really.
I mean,
Yeah.
this
And
friend
it
of
may
mine's
go-
got,
and it may go up from there. We raised it significantly, and we may need to raise it some more. Well, absolutely, we're totally with you on that. We want to see lawns ripped out. We love to see swimming pools ripped out. But there's a lifestyle element in LA that's a culture that trying to do anything from a mandatory standpoint just ignites a firestorm down at City Hall. We won't touch anything mandatory just because, it'd be we as a department, that's something the electors have to do.
I asked the question about the Colorado River water supply because I actually have on my computer a memo from someone at the DWP dated, I'm pretty sure it was December of 2012, expressing concern that at that time, and I'm sure it's far more now, possibly twice as many, there were 2,000 fracking wells directly on top of the Colorado River watershed. 6% of those wells leak when they're installed. Eventually, they all leak. That's a big concern when you tell us how important the Colorado River watershed is.
Yeah, that is. And that's going to drive the water quality issue. And there's some things you really can't clean out of the water. That's the scary part.
Like radiation.
Yeah.
I had a question. Your number one barrier was awareness, which I think is important. SoCal Gas, SoCal Edison, those folks have program managers that go out and talk to customers. Is that what DWP is doing, or how are you reaching, who goes out to talk to these folks?
It's a mix of strategies. We do that. We aren't resourced currently at a level necessary to emulate fully what Edison and SoCal Gas are doing, but that's our intent. That's my goal, is to staff us up. We are a city agency, so hiring has to go through a city civil service process, which is challengingly bureaucratic. So, we have the intent, I have the support to hire, I just don't have I'm not far along enough in the process. But, one way of saying, yes, we do that to some degree today. We're going to be doing it to a larger degree in the future as we surmount the personnel issues, the hiring issues. But we also leverage other channels to do that as well. And we've got a lot of partners that help us with that. We have what we call trade allies, and they're folks that take advantage of our efficiency programs in the selling of their services. And actually, like the solar, that's a trade ally. We don't have to promote solar because the solar industry is doing that, and they're doing it on the basis of our incentives, and they make that work with their business model, and they introduce the leases, and it's really taken off. So they're a trade ally, that's a channel. Similarly with HVAC contractors, lighting contractors, engineering firms for the commercial customers. That's the second route. A third route that we leverage, we have a robust community partnerships program, and this goes to the transparency. We do a competitive solicitation for nonprofits to apply to obtain grants to promote our programs directly to our customers. And we get one per council district, and we work with the council district office, and then we fund them to carry an efficiency message to their community. And we have a diversity of these types of nonprofits. For example, in Council District 15, San Pedro, it's the Gangs Awareness Project, GAP program. Great program. Keep kids out of gangs, give them something else to do, something productive. What do? Learn about energy and water efficiency and promote it in their schools and at home and to their community. So we do that. We also we work through those. There's 15 of them, and then we have a few larger ones that do work all over the city. We have about 5 of those. So that's another channel. And another channel is the gas company partnership, where our logo is and funding goes into programs that they offer on our behalf. Well, I think we're just about wrapped up here. The last slide I had was just the eco-district concept, putting into practice, piloting this efficiency land use transportation nexus, where you do the building level efficiency, but you also look for the interconnections and the characteristics of the land use patterns and the transportation patterns that they engender, and the transportation options that result in lower building energy usage and lower transportation energy usage, especially as we have more electric vehicles. And we're working with a few areas right now. The one that's furthest along is Little Tokyo, but some potential sites, Culver City right here. Not the city, this is Edison territory, but the Culver City station's right on the edge of DWP. There's a big 10-year redevelopment effort of Jordan Downs and Watts, and that's a potential demonstration site as well. Actually, I like all three of these because it's such a diversity of opportunities. Question?
Well, I totally agree with you on the electrification model, except electrification, if you don't have a backup, is the toughest to defend in case of terrorism, that infrastructure.
Well, yeah, that's definitely something all utilities are looking at, and it's not just electric utilities, gas utilities, as well as purveyors of hydrocarbon fuels that go through pipelines and have refineries. A refinery is a big terrorist target as well. So we're all worried on that and looking at things. There was that scary incident where somebody shot out those transformers up in PG&E, and it was unnoticed for a while, but by the time it was caught, they were able to prevent a catastrophic collapse of the power system around the Bay Area. There's known and unknown vulnerabilities. It's definitely something we look at. I don't think going from oil, from gasoline to electric vehicles increases on the balance a terrorist risk. Yes, now you've got more eggs in one basket, but if at the same time you're decarbonizing the transportation system, you're diversifying the electric system, you build in some robustness over there. So what I mean is more solar. We want more distributed solar, so that if you are wholly dependent on electricity, and for your car as well, but you have a solar system, then there is the ability to grid island. If the grid goes down, you can island off it and run on your solar panels. Now, if you don't have a battery system of any sort, then you can consume it as a generator, but when the sun goes down, your house goes dark. So, but there's a lot of emerging technologies in that regard. But this distributed solar is going to provide the flexibility of the overall system to have more robustness for those types of situations. I appreciate all the great questions. I appreciate your attention as I ran this over a little bit.
It was very interesting. Yeah.
I'm thrilled with all the stuff that you're doing. It's really, really encouraging to see all the work that you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you.